fellow leaders, commanders, political actors, activists, community voices, and all those who have carried responsibility throughout this difficult period. 1 week ago, I had the unique privilege to speak and address prominent Anglophone elites within the regime. And today, let me talk to fellow Ambazonian leaders, commanders, political actors, activists, and community voices. We must speak with one another honestly, not emotionally, not defensively, but honestly. We stand today, almost a decade, into one of the most painful and neglected conflicts on the African continent. For 10 years, our people have lived through realities that statistics alone can never fully capture. Behind every number is a human life, a family, a memory, a wound. Entire communities have been devastated. Thousands have lost their lives. Many more carry invisible psychological scars that may take generations to heal. Children have grown up surrounded by fear, instability, displacement, and trauma. Families have been separated. Our villages emptied. Livelihoods destroyed. Communities fractured by suspicion and grief. Across our beautiful territory, colonial, occupation, and local institutions have weakened or collapsed under the prolonged pressure of conflict. Schools disrupted, healthcare systems overstretched or broken, economic life severely damaged, infrastructure deteriorated, social trust eroded. An entire generation now risk inheriting not only political uncertainty, but normalized instability. This is the human reality confronting all of us. And leadership demands that we confront this reality fully. Because if we are not careful, movements born from legitimate grievances can gradually become trapped in circles of survival, symbolism, and emotional endurance without sufficiently adapting to changing political realities around them. This is the danger every prolonged conflict creates. Fellow leaders, we must understand something fundamental. The conflict is no longer only about political demands or institutional arrangements. The crisis, the conflict, the war has created for the first time in generations political capital never existed before. The purpose of the uprising, the purpose for which our people rose up, is to create political capital, and through their resistance, through their resilience, through their Monday ghost towns, through collective boycott, through lockdowns, and through the armed resistance and self-defense, through immense sacrifice, our people have created political capital. What has emerged over these years is something deeper, a rupture, a rupture in the old political order, a rupture in the structure of domination, exclusion, marginalization, and imposed dependency that shaped relations for decades. Fellow leaders, the old system has been profoundly challenged psychologically, socially, and politically. But here's the difficult truth. The dismantling of an old order does not automatically produce a viable new one. History is filled with movements that succeeded in resisting and in resistance, but struggled to transition from resistance and resisting to sustainable political construction. This is why this moment matters, because leadership is now being tested at a higher level, at a higher level, universally. Not only the ability to endure, the ability to mobilize, or the ability to resist, but also the ability to think strategically, the ability to adapt, the ability to protect the long-term future of the people, and the ability to recognize when history is opening space for political transition. Recent calls for dialogue, justice, peace, and dignity have created such a moment, not a solution, an opening. And openings in history must be handled carefully, intelligently, and with maturity. This requires moving beyond moving beyond a psychology centered on only, this requires moving beyond a psychology centered only on movements, survival, or political positioning. Because ultimately, the purpose of any struggle is not the preservation of organizations or personalities or narratives. The purpose of political struggles is for the future of the people, their dignity, their security, their stability, their opportunity to live meaningful lives free from permanent fear and destruction. This is why leadership now requires flexibility without surrender, openness without being naive, and strategic realism without abandoning principles. Dialogue and engagement should not be viewed automatically as weakness. I know that's what the regime thinks. In any situation in life, the most flexible is the one that wins. Negotiations should not be seen as betrayal. Serious engagement is not capitulation. In fact, throughout history, some of the most consequential political transformation emerged not when one side eliminated the other, but when leaders on all sides recognized that prolonged conflict was only producing diminishing returns and deepening social damage. I know the regime is a stubborn one and they are very reluctant to acknowledge that they have spent 9 trillion CFA in a war they can never win. And today, Cameroon is no longer able to manage the conflict in Ambazonia. The conflict is now managing Cameroon. Fellow leaders, our people have really endured, and we must praise their bravery, their commitment, and salute their sacrifices. But our people are also human. Commanders have sacrificed the most vibrant part of their lives to create this political space. Children have sacrificed 10 years to create this political space. Communities have observed Monday ghost towns, economic boycott, and lockdowns for 10 years to create this political space. Our people are human, and so they are also exhausted, not because they lack resilience, but because human beings were never meant to live indefinitely under conditions of prolonged instability. And yet, despite everything the people have endured, that endurance now places an even greater responsibility on leadership to think beyond emotion, beyond slogans, beyond temporary tactical victories, and beyond the politics of permanent, permanent confrontation. This moment demands strategic imagination. It demands the courage to ask difficult questions. What future are we building? What outcome is realistically sustainable? How do we preserve dignity while preventing generational collapse? How do we transition from prolonged conflict towards a viable political future for our people? These are not easy questions, and I don't want you to take them lightly. But history does not reward leaders for avoiding difficult questions. It rewards those who confront them honestly before circumstances become irreversible. Fellow leaders, no people can permanently live between war and uncertainty forever. At some point, leadership must help create a pathway, help create pathways towards political stabilization, institutional rebuilding, social healing, and long-term peaceful coexistence with Cameroon, whatever form that may ultimately take. But a political capital has been created, and it's now up to leadership, up to all movements, and up to all commanders, up to all political prisoners, and our people collectively. This requires discipline. It requires internal coherence, and above all, it requires political maturity. The world is watching very carefully, but more importantly, future generations are watching. And one day, history will ask, did leadership recognize the moment? Did they remain trapped in hardened positions? Or did they rise to the level of statesmanship required by history? This is that moment. A moment not to surrender, but for elevation. A moment to demonstrate that leadership is not measured only by the ability to resist pressure, but also by the wisdom to recognize when serious engagements may better serve the long-term interest of our people. Our people deserve peace with dignity, justice with stability, self-determination with a future larger than endless conflict. And let us therefore approach this moment with seriousness, courage, discipline, and strategic maturity worthy of the sacrifices our people have endured. History has opened a narrow window. Leadership must now decide what to do with it. The collective sacrifices of our people have created the greatest political opportunity for the first time since 1960, for the first time since February 1961. It is now up to leadership and our people collectively to make maximum use of this political capital that has been created. History has opened a narrow window. Leadership must now act decisively. I am Lucas Sasu. Today is Thursday. Today is Friday, May the 8th, 2026. And this is my message to our people.